ladies, we have 3 more treats for you coming off the heels of Bree's greatest hits. We were inspired for us to also share 3 of our favorite episodes, one from me, one from Rachel, one from Erin. So for the next 3 weeks, you're going to get more of our absolute favorite episodes so far, asterisk, because there are more to come. And so today is Rachel's favorite episode. So Rachel, which one did you pick and why?
Okay, I had to. This was so hard. By the way, I just want to say, so hard. There have been so many favorite episodes, but for this, there really wasn't ever any serious doubt as to which one was going to float to the top and there congeal in a pretty colorful salad of goodness.
I like what you did there.
My all-time favorite episode, asterisk so far, would have to be Erin's recipe card, the great Jell-O episode.
Yes.
This originally aired May 15th, 2020. And I remember when I recorded this episode, we were all in isolation, as everyone was at that time. And I was staying with my parents. My husband was deployed. My kids were homeschooling. I was staying with my parents and they had the world's most awful internet connection. And so I could not record there. So I packed all the kids up and sneaked down to my sister's house half an hour away. And she set me up in her living room. Of course, she had, a toddler at the time. So that was such a super quiet studio space, let me tell you. But I did all the recipes there and we sat down and she took my daughters and her daughter upstairs and tried to keep them quiet. And then this episode just kept going on and on and on.
Poor woman. So long.
It was so long.
But no one was mad about it.
But it was so fun. And this was when we were first imagining the show, this was exactly the sort of thing that I was envisioning doing with it. Celebrating this weird little facet of Lutheran culture, such as the Jell-O salad, looking into the history of it, some favorite recipes. And I even got to pull out this wonderfully ridiculous recipe from an old Lutheran, 70s, 80s era Lutheran Ladies cookbook. The horseradish Jell-O salad.
Yes.
Four ingredients, 5 if you count the boiling water. Lime Jell-O, lemon juice, whipped cream, and grated horseradish.
It sounds terrible.
It was terrible. I was trying to be positive about it on air because, it was edible, technically. But Bree was not fooled. She snapped a screenshot of my face just as I was trying it. And my Lutheran nice was belied by my face, apparently. But we just had so much fun. And I think everybody, all the listeners got into this. We ran a poll online. Everyone got to vote for what Jell-O recipes were their favorites. And it just sort of, everybody took it and ran with it. And I loved the way it sort of created a Lutheran moment for us. You made stickers.
Yes.
That Bree designed, Jell-O season. And it was just good fun. And so it does not surprise me at all that a little over a year later, the Babylon Bee published an online guide to all the different Christian denominations. And under Lutheran, they write, quote, all the boring parts of Catholicism married to all the boring parts of Protestantism. That's fair, actually. Skipping down a bit. In order to join, a person must be at least 70 years old, live in Lake Wobegon, and have a bizarre obsession with Jell-O.
Perfect.
And I like to think that we, in our own little way, sort of inspired that greater level of understanding of Lutheranism.
Yes.
In all its glory.
Yes.
I don't understand it, but I love it.
Perfect.
So that is my vote for all-time favorite episode for now. The great Jell-O episode, May 2020.
I love it. And this is a bit of a refresher for how we do polls on Facebook for people's favorite foods, because a little birdie has told me that we're going to run another one of these social inspired food episodes coming up this fall. Very soon, actually.
I'm so excited. Although, please don't anyone make me eat horseradish in a dessert again anytime soon.
So pay attention to social, ladies, because there's more polls happening, maybe right now, actually, during the month of September. And we're going to run another foodie episode where you're going to have your eating pants. So we love those episodes.
Eating pants. They're the best.
They are. We love them here. Without further ado, it is the great Jell-O extravaganza.
Listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Rachel.
And today is the great Jell-O episode!
Yeah!
This is pretty exciting in the list of Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast episodes. This might be the most epic one that took the most planning and has the most recipes in the Ladies Lounge group on Facebook. If you need Jell-O recipes, which I don't know why you would need them, but if you need them, go join the group and find that poll. And there are over 100, so you will not run out of Jell-O recipes ever in your life.
Myriad.
This is a Erin's recipe card. We all have Jell-O in front of us to try on this episode. This is going to be pretty epic. So, Erin, take it away.
So we decided the best way to approach this episode was to go to the experts themselves, namely the ladies of the lounge. So instead of me trying to just find interesting old recipes on my own, I wanted to hear from all of the Lutheran ladies. What were their favorite recipes? What were the weirdest recipes that they had? And we got a lot of variety. There were the savory Jell-Os, which I have to say, I'm going to be honest, I don't recall ever having a savory Jell-O at a potluck. So I think those were more novelty shares as opposed to true, this is a tradition at my church, the shrimp mold. However, all that said, there was at least one person in the lounge, might have been the only person in the lounge who really did endorse the shrimp mold and felt that it was actually delicious. Her mom used to serve it on Christmas Eve. So we've got all sorts of Jell-O possibilities out there. But for the great Jell-O episode, I wanted to, so we started collecting these. I made a database of Jell-O recipes.
Yeah, you did.
She sure did.
That is the most Lutheran thing ever.
I categorized them. Once I had gathered them all, then I started categorizing them in different ways to see how I could somehow wrangle these into something that we could work through. Karen Twenfeld offered to set us up with a bracket, which I ultimately declined because honestly, I still had work I had to actually do for my job. And so I thought, make it a little simpler for yourself, Erin. So thank you, Karen, for the offer to make a bracket for our Jell-O episode so that we could have had a fantastic Final Four showdown. But instead, I took the approach of making 3 polls where I had 3 contenders in each poll and then asked you ladies to vote on which of those 3 recipes we would make for the episode. So we worked our way through that. Now, before I get to the poll set, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. Before I get into the poll thing, Jell-O has got a lot of history. So here are some of the things that was shared during the Jell-O discussion. Jell-O has different names around the country. And we had more than one person in the group who commented that they're very familiar with Jell-O being referred to as congealed salad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Pat Gilbert said that when they moved to Alabama in the 70s, their family was introduced to congealed salad, and she was so relieved when she learned that it was actually Jell-O because she had horrible images in her head of what this could possibly be when talking with the ladies at church, I guess, before the actual potluck. So I thought at first that maybe it was a Southern thing, but it turns out that no, somebody else also knew it as congealed salad, and that person was from the East Coast somewhere. So that's a little too small of a sample group to really say with certainty how that name came about. But it's interesting. Congealed salad. I feel really good.
Can I just say that that is such a church lady thing to do, is to just do whatever we can to call it a salad.
Well, now
Even-
that is something that Jill Damick was actually wondering, or Damick, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but anyway, Jill was wondering the same thing. She wondered why sweet Jell-O dishes are considered a salad and not a dessert. She has been wondering this for at least 30 years.
You and me both.
No,
It's true.
exactly.
They always show up next to the salads in a
They do.
potluck, not on the dessert table, and it makes no sense.
But think about it though. If everything that had a ton of sugar on it went in the dessert table, the bread section would be very light. The salad section would be very light. And there'd probably be some entrees that are moving, jumping ship
the
for that
baked
dessert table.
beans. The baked beans would be moving on over.
It's strategic. It's to gotta move the product.
We're totally throwing potlucks under the bus right now.
Oh no,
But
I
we
love
love
it.
them.
Well,
We love them.
oh my goodness. Yeah, I try to eat healthy most of the time, but you go to a potluck and you're like, I'm not,
You're not
here
eating
for
healthy.
I
That's
did
right.
bring the green
Are off.
salad, but still,
That's right.
I may or may not eat it.
The other Jell-O salads are also known in some circles where there's sort of a what's the term? There's a special term. Maybe one of you will know. But anyway, they're an indicator that there was a funeral. Donna Utek said that a few years ago, a former church had as a standard funeral Jell-O, the orange Jell-O with grated carrots and pineapple. I believe that is the classic sunshine Jell-O. The personnel who helped with the funeral always got the leftovers. So whenever her kids would come home from school and see that Jell-O, they would say, well, looks like we had a funeral. So
Who died?
they associate that Jell-O salad in particular with childhood memories, like, oh, it's a funeral. I tie that to that. Someone else, Barb Stallman, commented about how when she was growing up, they were discussing a Jell-O salad and a variation, and Barb was commenting that the recipe was very similar to the one that her grandmother made, with the addition of grinding up an orange in it. And she remembered the orange because it would get ground up, peel and all, and it made a big impression on her young mind. And that just made me think, I'm like, there's a lot of things that we just grow up with and they stick with us. And I really think Jell-O salad is one of those things for Lutherans, for anybody whose church has a history of potlucks. And Lutherans aren't the only ones by any means who have the history of the potluck. So lots of other church traditions also have that history, but it's one of those things that because we grew up with it as kids, it gets lodged in our, I don't know, in our cultural history of this is what it is to be Lutheran, to be a kid who grows up in church. You eat Jell-O that has weird stuff in it.
I think we see in the Jell-O recipes the way in which cooking for church was a creative outlet for so many of our, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, that this was a way that they could show themselves artistically. And a potluck is a time when maybe your own kids will turn their nose up at something, but you can bring out the big guns, knowing that there will be enough people eating it that it can be a little weird, and foodies will go for it. The other thing is that you really don't want to show up at a potluck with something exactly like someone else brought. It's like wearing the same dress as somebody to prom. So people are sort of emboldened to go out on a culinary limb and try something a little bit crazy to make sure that it's unique on the table, that it will stand out as something very different.
Yes. There was at least one lady. I did not make a note of this in my database, but I remember it vividly in the Facebook thread talked about how I believe one of her great aunts one time made the unwise choice to go out on the limb and combine lime Jell-O with asparagus. And apparently
Oh,
the rationale was, well, they're both green,
why?
but
Why?
that that was a case where she went out on a limb, and that limb did actually break. That
Roundly.
fell broke. That cradle fell. So
Ugh. Asparagus in anything in my book, it's not a good choice. Mm-mm.
so yes, Jell-O is. I guess tell me about your memories of Jell-O, either recent or from your childhood. What are your associations? What's the story that you have to tell about Jell-O?
I think we used to only make Jell-O probably for potlucks. We wouldn't make it that often. My mom didn't want to make a lot of sugary desserts very often, and Jell-O is like literally pure
Mm-hmm.
sugar. So we didn't have it that often. I do remember making it. It was one of my favorite things to make with my mom because it was so easy and fun. And I remember loving it when I was a kid. I don't like I'm a texture person with food. I don't like weird textures, and yet I love Jell-O. So there must be some connection to childhood memories or something that I love Jell-O, even though it's a really odd texture for food. I do have a favorite Jell-O, potluck Jell-O though. It probably would be called green stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pistachio, maybe with pineapple, I think, and marshmallows, and I think coconut. And we always had that at our potlucks. I think it was pistachio. It was green. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was lime. It might have been lime too. And then the runner up would be orange stuff, but not the one with carrots. I don't remember ever having an orange Jell-O with carrots in it. I think our orange Jell-O actually had mandarin in it
Mm-hmm.
and marshmallow, but I don't think there were carrots. So, I mean, obviously there's lots of variations, but I apparently like the Jell-O marshmallow, like add all of the sugary stuff you can to the Jell-O, but I would always get thirds and fourths of those at potlucks. And I'll get to this later when we share our recipes, but making this Jell-O was an epic experience for me, and I'm so happy we're doing this episode because I now can eat Jell-O again.
Yay!
And it's
Yes.
amazing.
Awesome.
Maybe this just goes back to not having a traditionally Lutheran upbringing. We had potlucks and midweek suppers and everything. My family didn't really contribute things like Jell-O to that necessarily. So I didn't have it very often growing up outside of the stuff that like came in the cups, like pre-made at the grocery store. But I do love a good Jell-O salad. Like if it's at a picnic somewhere or someone else has brought it to a potluck. I love all the kind of fluffs that are out there, whether it's pineapple or orange or it's the pistachio. It is so good, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's so underrated. And like this last week, I'm not even trying to exaggerate this. Like in the last week of like making this Jell-O, I made the ribbon salad, which I will talk about in a bit. But like it is such a treat. And like I think about it, this dessert is so deeply rooted in the American experience, but nobody ever thinks about it anymore. And so it is. I got a 9 pan of rainbow Jell-O in my refrigerator right now, and I am just happy as a clam right now. It is
Mm-hmm.
such a treat.
Yeah.
So this was
I mean,
really fun.
it is one of those foods that has not, even with like the restaurant culture where they're like trying to take classic dishes and fancy them up and revive them, nobody ever tackles Jell-O. They'll tackle pudding, but not Jell-O. Jell-O is just a little too humble or I don't know, too ubiquitous. But Jell-O,
People
it's
sleep
a
on
great
it.
food.
It
Uh-huh.
is so good.
Basically firm Kool-Aid. So
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I ate a lot of Jell-O growing up. Not that my mom made it a ton, but whenever she did, when I was a teenager, it was sort of in the days when diet meant low fat. And Jell-O, of
Oh.
course, is fat-free.
Mm-hmm.
And so I equated it as a health food, as sort of free points on Weight Watchers kind of deal.
I'm being
Which
triggered.
Which I realized was a little naive on my part, but thankfully I was running like 5 miles a day back then, so it was
That's
fine.
what was doing it. That's what was doing it.
So, but I really love Jell-O. I don't like fancy Jell-O. I didn't then, I don't now. My favorite Jell-O is the one that's just simply orange Jell-O with mandarin oranges in it. Nothing else.
Mhm.
Just that. They go together so well. You put anything else in orange Jell-O, shredded carrot. I'm sorry, that needs to just stop. Why?
I don't understand why those things are together.
Right. I
But that's
know
just
it's
me.
part of our heritage, but there's good and bad parts. And I am not a fan of putting marshmallows in the Jell-O, but I just don't like marshmallows anyway.
That's fair.
Nuts, no, thank you. So it's as long as you have like a can of processed fruit in Jell-O, that's great. Or just Jell-O by itself. Or the Jell-O jigglers, which are
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, see, there you go. But Jell-O is such a simple food. It can be fancied up, but it does not need to be. And I think for kids especially, and I guess I'm still a kid in my dessert tastes, that simpler can be better.
Speaking of being a kid and Jell-O and simplicity, one of the memories I do have as a child is my mom used to collect, I guess they were Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks from like the 70s. And I think somebody in the Facebook group brought this up and it resonated with me like immediately, was seeing these pictures. It was usually of like those savory Jell-O molds and like seeing those in the Better Homes and Gardens. I remember seeing those and I said to like my 12-year-old self, I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but it probably tastes like garbage.
That was Kimberly Myers who said that.
That's who I thought it was.
She thought it was the most elegant dish she had ever seen.
Yup.
What is it? It was the fish mold.
Like
the fish mold.
Or like
It looks really cool.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
I would not eat it.
No.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious though.
I would, speaking about the shrimp mold, I would make that and try it. If this was not so time consuming, I would have done that one too.
Yeah. I personally, as far as the savory ones go, I was personally intrigued by the potato salad one because potato salad is in many ways already pretty close to Jell-O in its consistency. So I feel like I would try that. But also I did not end up doing that this week because I'm the only one eating this Jell-O and I did not have still more Jell-O in my refrigerator at the moment.
So am I the one who made a bonus quirky Jell-O?
I made two.
I made two as well.
All right.
Savory one.
Technically, I made 6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the Jell-O, I actually am different than you guys in that I don't remember being, maybe I was, but I don't remember being disturbed by weird stuff in Jell-O. I always thought, wow, that's interesting. But it was sweet, and so I'm like, well, it's sweet, so I'll eat it. And so I remember the chopped up nuts and chopped up celery and grated carrots and all of those odd crunchy things.
Pineapple
and yet they were ensconced in sweet fruity Jell-O, and so I just gulped it down. My mom also was not a big Jell-O maker. She wasn't a big dessert maker. She also just was like, no, you don't need that much. She was ahead of her time as far as not serving a lot of sweets. So the potluck was indeed the place where I most often got to enjoy Jell-O. I will happily enjoy Jell-O with just a can of fruit cocktail tossed in, sure. But I still enjoy the more messy the Jell-O is, the better. The more things it has in it, I appreciate that. So let's talk about what we actually each made. I'll go first. So I was in the fluff round, and the Jell-O that was selected that I made was actually, it turns out, so the initial recipe that was submitted was, I believe, orange fluff salad, or orange Jell-O salad. And it consisted of, it was a handwritten card, and it had really basic instructions of Jell-O and orange sherbet and mandarin oranges. And then later, this was Amanda Barlow. She then said her mom actually gave her the proper recipe, so she submitted an additional recipe card, handwritten in clearly somebody who went through penmanship in their school with very nice cursive handwriting. And then it was called Orange Supreme Salad, Orange Supreme Jell-O salad, Orange Supreme. And this is a little trivia for you all. You know the segments in an orange, and like the mandarin oranges that you get in a can, how they don't have the skin on them?
Mhm.
So you can do that with any citrus fruit, right? You just cut off the peel and then you slice it out by using a knife, and so you end up with just the wedge of the citrus fruit without any skin at all. That wedge with the skinless fruit is a supreme. That's what it's called.
Really?
So that's what chefs call it, according to the Joy of Cooking. I knew I remembered that. So once I saw the name of the new recipe, I pulled out my Joy of Cooking, and sure enough. So
cool.
this is
Here's your
orange
trivia.
cream Jell-O salad, and it was still, I felt it was not as exciting a Jell-O as I really wanted to be able to make. So I decided I would make it, and then I would also attempt to make another version that was more jazzed up, but tried to keep a little bit to the spirit of it. So I chose to make the change I made to it. I'm calling it Dreamsicle Gelosia.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the original calls for orange Jell-O with orange sherbet and the mandarin oranges. I changed it up by going with orange Jell-O, vanilla ice cream for the dreamsicle effect, the mandarin oranges, but then I wanted to bring in more of the texture because I already said that's what I really enjoy in a Jell-O salad. So I decided to be inspired by the classic ambrosia salads. So I tossed in a bunch of unsweetened coconut. I thought to myself, yes, my mom does have good advice all these years, so I figured it didn't need to be the sweetened coconut. I did not add the marshmallows because it's already got ice cream in it and Jell-O to begin with. There was plenty of sugar. So I added the cottage cheese. I love cottage cheese in my Jell-O.
Oh.
So I tossed in some cottage cheese, and then I added some sliced almonds. Slivered almonds would have been a better choice, but yeah, you live and learn. So the sliced almonds ended up being too similar to the shredded coconut, once it had all set up. Oh, and I added a little bit of vanilla to really boost that vanilla flavor. And the original is good. The original is got that, for if you are someone who doesn't like the chunky Jell-O that's not what does it for you. The original orange Jell-O salad, the original Jell-O Supreme, it's great. You're gonna like it. It's a simple classic. I think even Rachel, I think you would enjoy this one. The orange sherbet, so it gives it a little bit of something special, but not too much. So
I think I would probably enjoy the original or the simple version of that. The complex version, we like to say on this show that Lutheran looks a lot of different ways, and never has that been more apparent to me than you describing this Jell-O that you like. Because that's not how I Lutheran.
Fair enough. So What were your experiences with the Jell-O that you were assigned, and then did you make any extra Jell-O, or how'd that go for you?
I think we need to hear from Sarah. We only had 3 Jell-Os here because Sarah can't eat any of them because of her uniqueness. No.
Sugar.
Intolerances, which I know a
Yeah.
lot of our listeners out there have to deal with a variety of food intolerances and special diets. And so, Sarah, I would love to hear about your adventure. You sort of went off, what do you call it? Freestyle Jell-O.
I definitely freestyled Jell-O. Yeah, so I have a very long list of food intolerances, which includes pretty much everything that's in Jell-O other than the actual gelatin itself. So making any of those recipes, as fun as it would be and as much as it would be fun to relive my childhood memories, my body would hate me if I tried to eat that stuff. Cow is generally safe for me, though, so I was pretty excited about this because I figured gelatin would be safe, and alas, it is. So I figured I would be able to use straight up gelatin. I used Great Lakes Gelatin brand. It's one of they don't pay me, but it's my favorite brand of that style of thing. And then the most simple recipe that I found that we can put in show notes or in the group or whatever is just gelatin and fruit juice. Pretty much. It's super, super easy. So if you have, if you can't eat cane sugar or something, or you want to just do it on your own and make up your own recipes, that is the easiest way to make Jell-O. Just get some gelatin, and it's cheap too. Just get some gelatin, get whatever fruit juices and fruits you like, and just mix it all together. Super duper easy. So what I ended up doing, I can't eat a lot of sugar at all, really. So I did a cran apple was my original recipe. So I used gelatin, cranberry juice that I sweetened with stevia, so I actually don't have any sugar in it, and then chopped up apple and mixed all that together.
What's the verdict?
I didn't sweeten the cranberry enough because cranberry juice is super duper tart, and I didn't want to overdo it with the stevia. My husband made a really super puckery face when he tried it. He's like, "This is not sweet at all." I was counting on the apple to add a lot of sugar content to it, and it did. But when I make this again, I need to do more stevia in the cranberry juice and less apple because you don't actually taste a lot of the apple or a lot of the cranberry flavor. It's just a lot of the tartness, but not the flavor of the cranberry. And there's too much apple.
To be clear, you used pure cranberry juice, not like a cranberry juice cocktail.
Right. This is straight up 100% cranberry juice, the stuff that you would not want to drink straight. I mean, maybe you would, I don't know, but it's not sweet at all.
You hate yourself.
Right. You would want to sweeten it. So next time I'll probably add a little bit of honey. Maybe like a tablespoon or so, along with the stevia. And I think that would probably do it. And less apple. I way overdid the apple. But it's good. I like it. And it's a beautiful color. Cranberry juice in gelatin. Beautiful color. So the second one, this one I was really excited about, is coffee Jell-O, which was your idea, Erin. And it blew my mind. Like so many things colliding.
That was
like
so
the epic,
exciting to watch. It was so
the
great.
most Lutheran Jell-O, coffee and Jell-O. And it sounds like it would be gross. And when I was telling people that I was making coffee Jell-O, they were all like, why would you do that? That sounds like a terrible idea. So I found recipes for it. What did you say? It's a delicacy in like Japan and apparently on like the East Coast as well. Apparently, I don't know. It is one of the most easy Jell-Os to make if you have gelatin, because you make your coffee hot and you literally just mix hot coffee into the gelatin and let it set. It couldn't be easier than that. So the next time I make it, I want to try to layer it a bit with some almond milk Jell-O, and maybe play with the sweetness of which layers get a certain amount of sweetness. Yeah. So, and my husband will probably make a separate one with a milk layer, and he'll make his super duper sweet because he'll like drink honey out of the jar. So, so the verdict on that one, I didn't quite sweeten it enough, but I didn't want to overdo it the first time. So I sweetened the coffee, and I used AeroPress coffee because AeroPress is nice and dark. I wanted it strong. I did sweeten it with a little bit of honey and a little bit of stevia, and it's not quite sweet enough. And I need to work on the presentation of this one because like a square of brown Jell-O is really not appetizing at all. But it's good, and this one gets my husband's stamp of approval too. He was eating this one willingly, so that one will definitely come back.
I feel like it would be best. I think you would need to use strong coffee with it because by the time it's cold and you add the other, you add the gelatin, I think starting with something that is pretty strong like that does seem like it would give you the best results. Ooh, how much fun.
Especially if you follow the actual recipes you find, because they tell you to put a lot of sugar in it, which I obviously didn't do, but a lot of sugar goes really well with really strong coffee.
Yes.
So that one is a winner. If you think it sounds weird, but you love coffee, I highly recommend doing coffee Jell-O and then putting some whipped cream on top and serving it. It would be fantastic.
That sounds nice.
Do you think you could do Irish coffee Jell-O?
Yes.
A twist on the Jell-O shot idea.
Yes. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure one of the recipes I found actually called for that.
But Vietnamese coffee Jell-O would also be delicious.
Yeah. You've got options.
So good.
Yeah, I highly recommend doing the coffee Jell-O if you are able to.
Now I'm wondering, how would a chai tea be as a Jell-O?
I actually wanted to try ginger tea and make and do like a triple ginger. So you can get like candied ginger and put candied ginger on the bottom and then make really sweet ginger tea and pour that over it. Yeah, I think that would be good. But yeah, I bet you chai would be really good too.
I'm guessing this will be a to be continued kind of Jell-O adventure for you, Sarah?
Yeah. So this is really exciting. I don't really have desserts in my life right now because I can't eat sugar pretty much at all. So just to have something that it's still not that sweet, and like for a normal person that eats normal desserts, it's not going to taste like a dessert. But for me, this is a huge experience because I actually have something that looks like a dessert and I can eat it like a dessert, and I can actually bring something to a potluck that other people will eat and they won't look at me like I'm crazy because it's a legit like Lutheran dessert. So
exactly.
You're welcome.
This is pretty great. So this episode has changed my life.
Yes.
I will warn you, if you use straight up gelatin out of the container to make your gelatin, it is an interesting experience. I had never used it before. It smells weird when you first mix it, and you have to mix it into cold water first. When you first mix it, it smells really weird, but it goes away, and the texture is like glue paste stuff. It does not look appetizing. It turns out fine, I promise.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How is the gelatin that you use different? Because my recipe called for unflavored gelatin powder that came in like a little envelope.
Yeah.
That I found at the grocery store. Like, so what's the difference between something like that and what you used?
Probably not much. The ratio is they give you a ratio, like 1 packet equals 1 tablespoon out of the container I get. It's probably similar. I don't know what's in those packets. Okay. There may be like preservatives or something. I don't know. But it's probably really close, really similar to the same thing.
Because mine didn't smell, so
yeah. I mean, I got like this. I got the super fancy stuff, like grass-fed beef gelatin. This is
it's
legit.
Yeah.
It looks like usual normal gelatin when you get it all together. So it works. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, Bree, tell us about your saga, because yours was sort of an epic journey. You had the longest recipe, time wise.
Yes. So I picked the sour cream round winner. It was the ribbon Jell-O from Mary Jo Ryman had posted that.
My aunt, by the way.
What? Potlucks and company. I took that one on because I'm the kind of person who, like, if I see foods in rainbow order, I will want to eat them. Like, even if it's like the lineup of the Boone's Farm at the grocery store, I'm like, I want to drink all of these crappy wines because they look so beautiful next to each other. That's the kind of person that I am. Mm-hmm. So the recipe itself is pretty simple. However, you're absolutely right. It's tremendously time not consuming, but it takes a while. So, basic rundown of the recipe is, as Mary Jo had posted it, 4 kinds of Jell-O, and then a recipe for like a sour cream sweet sort of layer that separates the colors. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this kind of dessert. If not, I have pictures that I will be posting in the Facebook group once the show comes out, with probably with everybody else's photos. The recipe had four colors. I believe it was green, yellow, orange, and red, maybe. But because I'm a freak about rainbows, I was like, I'm going to take this one step further and put blue and purple in there as well. So I drove to the local grocery store, which I have since found is like the mecca of Jell-O selection, like ever. I posted a photo of the Jell-O aisle in the group, and everyone was just overcome with how many options that we have at this local grocery store.
There's going to be a run on Jell-O after this episode.
I didn't really know how blessed I was until about 3 days ago. I found all the colors that I wanted. I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into like flavor profiles, but like as I was walking out of the store, I was like, I wonder if lemon is going to go together really well with grape. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. It was an entire experiment, so I wasn't that concerned about flavor profiles or even like how it's set up and all of that. So I appropriately increased the recipe by 50%. With the way that the measurements are called for, adding an extra 2 colors of Jell-O, it was easy to convert that recipe. What I didn't take into consideration is the depth of the 9x13 pan.
Geometry.
Because it didn't even go there. So basically, you have Jell-O layer number 1, then you have this sour cream mixture, which I will get to in a second. Then you have blue layer, sour cream layer, green layer, sour cream layer, and basically in rainbow order, those 6 colors. I'm here to tell you today that the Pyrex 9x13 pan that I have is just about perfect for 4 colors of Jell-O. Like, there is a rhyme and reason. Rhyme and get it? There's a rhyme and reason to why it's only 4. So, in the future, if I wanted to do this recipe with all 6 colors fitting in the depth of the pan, I would maybe use a half a box per layer, or a cup of the sour cream mixture per layer. But basically, you just prepare the Jell-O according to the directions, and then you layer it. And the reason it takes so long is because you have to make time for it to set before you add extra layers. I did learn when I was probably on layer number 3 that I could have made all of the Jell-O at one time and just kept it out. And if it had set up any, I could pop it in the microwave for a few seconds to get it to soften back up. So if I do this another time, which I probably will, because as frustrating as it was really fun.
It's really impressive.
And I want to do it again. It looks really beautiful. I am still trying to find the perfect cross section. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll just post what I have. The only other thing that I will say is I feel like I'm a very astute individual when it comes to like operating in the kitchen. What I learned on Wednesday when I was making this is if you're boiling milk, do not turn your back for a single second, because that pot of milk will boil over and ruin your life.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. So in all of this, and maybe this is a blessing in disguise, I learned how to dismantle my stovetop so I could clean it. The overflowing Jell-O pan got dripped all over my fridge, so I got to I had the privilege of cleaning out the bottom of my fridge, and my kitchen floor had splotches of Jell-O all over it, which my dog was helping me out by licking it, but I hollered at him and he didn't come anywhere near me, so I had to take out the Swiffer wet jet and mop my floor. So that's the most cleaning I've done in about 6 months. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
The recipe itself is time intensive. I made it a little bit harder on myself because
Because you love a rainbow.
I love a good rainbow.
You love a good rainbow.
And I pay dearly for it.
Yeah.
But it is so delicious. Like, I've been eating it for breakfast for the last 2 days.
No shame.
Awesome.
No shame. So good.
Now, Rachel, I think you're the only one who has not yet tried your Jell-Os.
I haven't, and it has been so hard. I have been sitting here on the live stream watching you guys spoon Jell-O into your mouth all episode, but I was determined I was going to try my Jell-O on air.
Cannot wait.
I have
Tell
two
us
enormous
about your
bowls.
Jell-Os.
Okay, so I was assigned based on popular vote because people love me and want good things in my life. The cherry cola Jell-O, submitted by Amanda Markell. And this is, I looked at this and I thought, I love cherries. Brie loves rainbows. I love cherries. This is just like match made in heaven kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was only afterwards that I started to look at the recipe. And you know how Jell-O is usually made with 1 cup boiling water and 1 cup cold water?
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, it's a large Jell-O. So 2 cups boiling water, 2 cups cold water. No, this is made with about 1 cup water, 1 cup reserved juice/syrup out of pineapple and cherry cans, and 1 cup cherry cola. So you take the normal sugar content of Jell-O and then take all the water out and replace it with
more
syrup.
sugar.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, 911. I just had a diabetic sugar reaction. No, I didn't eat anything. I was just listening.
It also contains dark sweet cherries and shredded pineapple.
Wow.
So if you guys
that would be the
me
best part.
keel over in front of the screen, I'm getting a bowl right now, or a spoon right now. It looks
so
amazing.
Curious because soda in Jell-O. Tell me
How
about
does that even work?
experience?
It makes it kind of lighter and fluffier because the bubbles are working in the Jell-O while it's setting.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the effect of yeast on bread.
Oh,
That is fascinating.
It's kind of fluffy. One of our listeners, lounge friends, Lisa Sizemore, says her mom used to use red wine instead of cola, which I thought was an interesting twist on the original. I will tell you, it is very delicious and it is very, very sweet. But I am loving this Jell-O. It will be a special occasion treat for me, but I will definitely be keeping this recipe because cherries and pineapple and cherry cola is just a wonderful, wonderful combination. Hang on, I'm going to take another bite.
Yeah.
Well, that answers my question. I was thinking with my triple ginger plan of putting ginger ale in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was wondering how the bubbles would work. But now that you've described green cherry cola, if you do like ginger tea, ginger ale, and candied ginger, that might be epic and really strong.
I will tell you, lest you try it, and because I did do I considered adding ginger to my variation, but you can do it. But raw ginger has an enzyme that will cause the gelatin not to set. Similar to some of the tropical fruits, so it needs to be cooked or processed or something. So I was like, but I wanted the texture of the raw ginger, so I just nixed that plan completely. So if you do a ginger Jell-O test, don't use raw ginger in it.
Yeah, I think the stuff that we have is candied, so I think it's actually like already jellied ginger juice or something. Like it's
processed
not raw.
in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, in talking about the carbonated beverages in a Jell-O.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I am pretty sure there was a Jell-O commercial for like New Year's coming up, and it was a champagne Jell-O.
Whoa.
Yes.
Mhm.
Apparently, Jell-O for a while had a special brand that was for Jell-O sparkling Jell-O or
Yeah.
something like that. And then the world figured out you can make it by just adding soda. And so they're like, you don't need the special Jell-O, you just add soda to any Jell-O you want to make it with. And so Jell-O discontinued that particular little specialty option.
That's
That's
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah.
All right, Rachel, back to
So
you.
Rachel, yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
tell us
I'm-
a little more.
Hang on. Let me just sort of like float down from my sugar high.
Do you need to cleanse your palate?
Do you need to go run a couple
maybe.
miles and come back?
Yeah, probably. I will tell you, it's the recipe recommends using a trifle dish for this, and it's a good idea because the pineapple all floats to the top. So if you're serving this Jell-O, you want to not sort of scrape off the top. You want to really dig down and get a
dig
cross
down.
section of the
Okay.
layers, because the bottom layer is very Jell-O heavy, and then the cherries, and then the pineapple. So if you just scrape off the top, you're going to get the pineapple. So yeah, this is the Jell-O. Actually, while we were recording right now, I just got a text from my dad saying, "Bring the cherry Jell-O home." So
I was going to ask you, what's the mom rating on this one? Do you feel like this would be family friendly?
my kids are so weird. I can't tell. I think several of them will like it, and then one or two of them will just say, "Mom, can I just have plain Jell-O next time?" Probably.
I wonder which would be the ones who are like,
Yeah.
"More, Mom."
I have one child who doesn't like pizza. She will probably not care for this Jell-O. But I will tell you also, I have a bonus round Jell-O that I need to sample on air. And this one,
excited.
this one goes out to Caitlin Maydinger, who voted for it in our poll because she says, my vote is based purely on the fact that I want y'all to taste horseradish Jell-O during a podcast.
That's my girl. That is my girl.
So this one's for you, Caitlin. Now, I did bring this on myself. This was a recipe I found in an old church cookbook and told Erin she had to make. You know that proverb that says if a man digs a pit, he will fall into it?
This is the pit you have fallen into.
This is my pit.
Jell-O
so
pit.
I've got there. We'll put a picture of this online. I didn't do it perfectly because it was supposed to like partially set, and it ended up a little chunkier when I mixed it in.
Oh no!
But so this is basically lime Jell-O with whipped cream, lemon juice, and horseradish.
What?
I love each of those things separately.
Right, me too. So I'm a little hesitant, but hang
Lime
on.
and horseradish.
It
Hold on.
smells
I wanna-
strong.
I want to take a screen cap immediately of your reaction. So
All right,
let me know when you're ready.
I'm not smelling lime Jell-O. I'm smelling horseradish. Okay. The flavor is not awful. Not as awful as you would think.
That is a rave review.
So here's what I'll say. The flavor of horseradish is not a terrible match for the lemon lime because horseradish is a very tangy flavor.
Yeah.
Sure.
The flavor is not terrible, but the combination of the squishy Jell-O, the fluffy whipped cream, and the kind of stringy, coarse texture of the horseradish.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I would rather have a proper salad than a horseradish Jell-O salad. I may actually end up finishing this because it may be sort of like the sort of thing that the last bite tastes better than the first. You get used to it as you go down through the layers of Jell-O goodness. But
It's
Possible.
like Jell-O train wreck. You just can't stop watching. Or
right, right.
That's not worth it.
So yeah, horseradish Jell-O salad. There you go, Caitlin. It's okay. It's okay. If I took it to a potluck, I would probably carry my camera around watching people's faces as they ate it without actually knowing what it was and being too polite to say anything.
Yep.
And then I would watch as the napkins sort of slid over those portions of the plates, and the
They
plates
leaned over their chair.
in the trash. But there might be some people out there who would really like it. It, as we found with Erin's kitchen sink Jell-O, it takes all types.
Exactly.
And it may be that the right person out there would think that this was just so good.
Exactly.
This reminds me of a recipe that happens every year on NPR at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
It's a cranberry sauce. So it's not Jell-O, but it's a cranberry sauce recipe that also uses horseradish. And this reminds me of that. And I bet you could gelatinize that one too. And make it a cranberry Jell-O with horseradish.
I actually think that might work better because, when you have the Jell-O and the whipped cream, you really expect a creamy texture. Whereas whole cranberries are already bringing that sort of coarseness to the texture palette, and the horseradish would be able to slip in under the radar a little bit better.
I made that horseradish Jell-O, the cranberry one year. And while I enjoyed it, it was not a broad favorite that year. It has not been requested back. But it's like vivid. It's like
Pepto-Bismol pink.
Yes, it's crazy bright pink. But I think you're right. The cranberries with the horseradish and add a little Jell-O to just firm it up a little. Yeah. You're onto something
totally
there.
Somebody out there in Lutheran Ladies Lounge land, you should make it.
Yeah.
And prove us right or wrong.
there are those people who just aren't the greatest Jell-O fans. And so the one quote I have here to sort of wrap us up that just sort of tickled my fancy when everyone was sharing their Jell-O recipes, Sheila commented, as far as the Jell-O she likes to bring, I usually make meatballs. I bring a crock pot full of them, and afterwards my crock pot is empty.
That's right.
Jell-O is not for everyone. It's true, and that's the beauty of the potluck. There is actually something for everyone. You got choices at a potluck. So this was so much fun, ladies.
This was really great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah. Ladies out there, keep experimenting, trying new things, because there has been everything under the sun done with Jell-O, but there's more that can be done. I can't wait to see the next generation's church cookbooks with the Jell-O recipes, because it's too much fun to play with.
Some of the classics are going to stay there, but there's going to be new ones too.
There is a poll in the Facebook group.
There's 3 polls that are still
there's
out
3
there,
polls.
But
we want to know your own Jell-O stories. Share with us your own favorite recipes, your own memories of potlucks with your favorite kind of Jell-O. Because Jell-O is one of these things that brings us all together in a maybe a very strange way. So if you haven't joined our group on Facebook, go find us, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge. Find all of our episodes at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge or on your favorite podcasting app. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge, the Great Jell-O Episode podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm full of rainbow Jell-O.
And I just hate horseradish.
Oh, fantastic.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Join our community on Facebook in the Lutheran Ladies Lounge.
You know, the flavor is not awful. Not as awful as you would think.
That is a rave review.
Oh, you have a troubled look on your face. You need to see the photo I just sent.
So here's what I'll say. The flavor of horseradish is not a terrible match for the lemon lime, because horseradish is a very tangy flavor.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so if it were just flavors...
You gotta look at the photo. I'm sorry.
I don't want to look at the photo, Bree. Our listeners can look at the photo on our wall.